Welcome back. My husband, 32, of 6 years, wants to end our happy marriage for a mistake I made years ago. For the sake of our family when he was jobless. I, female 28, didn't have the best financial background growing up. But I knew I wanted a better life for myself. Due to my financial situation, I thought I would not be able to go to college. That was until a friend of mine introduced me to the sugar baby lifestyle. Initially, I was disgusted at the idea of an older man paying for my lifestyle in return for my time, body, and affection. But I really wanted to go to college, and that was the only way I could afford it, as my grades weren't high enough to compete for a scholarship. Throughout college, I had a sugar daddy paying for my tuition, my rent, and everything else. When I completed college and found a decent job, I cut all ties with my sugar daddies and focused on building my career. They had served their purpose, and I no longer needed them. Later, I met my now husband at an event organized by a mutual friend. We hit it off, and after dating for only a year, he proposed. And we got married 6 months later. I never told him about my past and hoped and prayed that he would never find out. We had established very early on in our engagement that I would be a stay-at-home wife and mom during our marriage, and I was happy to do so. In 2019, my husband got laid off and it was difficult for him to find another job due to the COVID-19 restrictions. Money at home was starting to get tighter and I confided in my best friend. She joked about the good old days when we had men ready to pay for our entire lives. After a few drinks, we ended up on sugar dating sites. Although I created an account with her that day, I didn't start texting them for about 3 weeks. I know what I did was wrong, but it was also for the sake of my family to ensure that we maintain and enjoy the same lifestyle we always have. I met up with an old sugar daddy flame that happened to be on the site, and we started right where we left off and re-established our old transactional relationship. I went on vacations with him and told my husband that I have a long-lost grandaunt and she's on her deathbed, and wishes to meet her long-lost sister's family. And every time I come from those trips or anytime I would get random money, I would tell him that it was a gift from her. And whenever he asked me too many questions about this rich grandaunt, I would promise to introduce them when she gets better, because I don't want to overwhelm her with the presence of too many people. This lasted about a year because my husband found a job. I ended that relationship and went on with my life like my sugar daddy never existed. Yesterday, my husband found old texts that I thought I deleted between me and my sugar daddy and confronted me about it. I tried to explain that I did it for our family, but he wouldn't listen, calling me all sorts of names. Things escalated when he called my dad asking about a long-lost grandaunt, and nobody in the family knew who he was talking about. He's trying to kick me out of our home, and worst of all, he's demanding a DNA test for our son. I'm currently at my parents' house, and I don't feel safe with the way he's been behaving recently. And I confess that I lied to them about getting a scholarship back in college and that it was funded by an older man. And that's the reason why my husband's angry at me. They were shocked and heartbroken. They are still processing this news and suggest that I wait for him to calm down so that we can discuss this properly. How can I be wrong for trying to take care of our family? How do I fix this marriage? Update: I let him have his way and the test came back positive. He's the father. Instead of apologizing for the accusations of our son not being his, he filed for divorce and is now demanding full custody of our son. I told him good luck with that. He has also managed to turn both our families against me in a span of 5 weeks. My parents have kicked me out, saying that they're disappointed in me. My dad has basically disowned me. They say that I lied to them and didn't tell them the whole truth. What is the difference? It was all in the past. I don't understand why everyone's on his side when he's the one trying to break our family up and take my son away for a mistake I made 3 years ago. And to top it all off, I did it for us. I saw how this job thing was stressing him and I made sure that we were doing okay while he was jobless. Edit: I hired a PI and dug up my past for the custody battle. I've done a lot of bad things in my life, but I'm a good mother. How could he do this to me? How could he do this to my family? I admit that I was a sugar baby at 2 points in my life, but that doesn't devalue me as a mother and shouldn't be a basis to question my character. And it looks like the judge fell for it because he said my lifestyle poses a danger to my son and thereby I was granted only the weekend supervised visitation. I've lost everything: my son, my family, my home. I have nothing. I was hoping to at least get majority custody and have my ex pay child support. I'm ashamed and embarrassed about what I did, but I don't think it's worth ruining a happy family. To the complete strangers that are not commenting any helpful advice and commenting that I got what I deserve, you have no idea what we were going through at that time. I had to decide to keep our family above water without going into any debt. How can you judge when you've never walked in my shoes? All I want is my family to be the way it was before. Comments. OP, I admit that you were facing a challenging financial situation when you made the decisions you did, but this is a big but. Honesty is the foundation of any successful relationship. It's not just about the financial aspect, but the emotional aspect as well. By not being transparent about your past, you essentially deprived your husband of making an informed choice about his life partner. I can empathize with your desire to provide for your family. However, it's essential to remember that your husband has a right to know who he's sharing his life with. Discovering this years later must have felt like a breach of trust for him. It's not just about the financial support you received from sugar daddies. It's also about the secrecy surrounding it. Moving forward, consider seeking therapy as a couple to address these trust issues and work through this difficult period in your marriage. I understand that you had your reasons, OP, but maintaining such significant secrets in a marriage is a risky move. It's evident that your intentions were to provide for your family during a difficult time, and that's commendable. However, keeping your sugar baby past hidden not only creates a trust gap, but also poses challenges for your husband in understanding your motivations and past actions. What's done is done, but now you have to navigate the consequences. This might include therapy or counseling to help both of you understand each other better, rebuild trust, and work towards a healthier future. Relationships can recover from these kinds of setbacks, but it takes a lot of effort and commitment. Story 2. My boyfriend 29 and I 28 have been together for 6 years, but friends for 11 years since college. 3 years ago, I had a short 1-month affair with a coworker while boyfriend and I were in an LDR for 1 year. I confessed, and although my boyfriend wanted to break up with me at first, I convinced him to work through it and I transferred offices to one back home, so our LDR was over and we were together again. Lately, a lot of our friends from college have been getting married, and we've been going to all these weddings for this summer alone, and my friends always ask when boyfriend and I will get engaged, and I always just say, oh, I don't know, hopefully someday soon. Now, before the affair, we had discussed marriage, and my boyfriend always said he wanted to get married one day, and that we'd probably get engaged once he finished law school, which he finished almost 3 years ago. But since the affair, we haven't talked about it. So last Sunday, we were sitting at home drinking wine and watching True Blood, when I decided to casually mention how our friends had been joking that we were next to get married, but we had to get engaged first. All he said was, oh yeah? So then I asked, have you thought about proposing to me? And he said no, which obviously hurt a little, so I asked why, and he said because he's never planning on proposing to me. This was kind of shocking to me because when we were younger, he told me he wanted to be married one day and have kids. So I thought, well, it's 2014. A woman can ask a man to marry her. So I asked, what if I asked you to marry me? What would you say? And he said he would say no. So at this point, I'm on the verge of bawling my eyes out. So I asked why I thought you always wanted to be married one day, and this is basically what he said. Yes, I always thought I would be married one day, but even though these last 2.5 years have been great, I will still never trust you 100%. And I'm never going to put myself in another position where you can hurt me like that again. So no, I won't be asking you to marry me, and I won't marry you. I'm not going to ask you this year, I'm not going to ask you in 5 years. Maybe in 10 years my opinion changes, but probably not. I'm not against marriage, I'm just against marriage with you. I'm sorry, but I can't marry a cheater. I'm not going to put myself in a position where you can devastate me again. I can spend the rest of my life with you and probably be happy. But odds are I won't spend it married to you. If that's a problem for you, I understand, and you're welcome to find a solution that works for you. Is this a normal way of thinking? What do? I want to marry this man. He's basically told me if I ever want to be married, I'll have to break up with him and find another guy. Judging by the comments and PMs I got, I can tell you all hate me, but sorry to disappoint you, this is not the update you want to hear. I spoke with my boyfriend and we came to a compromise. We're not breaking up or getting married. We're getting each other rings to wear, kinda like promise rings. And we're gonna have a barbecue with all our friends for our next anniversary. While his perspective might seem harsh, it's important to remember that everyone has their own boundaries and deal breakers in a relationship. For him, it appears that trust is paramount, and he's not willing to take the risk of marriage given his lingering doubts. As for your desire to marry him, it's a challenging situation. It might be worth considering couples counseling to explore whether trust can be rebuilt and whether there's a path forward for a future together. Communication is key here, and if you both are willing to work through these issues, there might be hope for a stronger, more secure relationship down the road. The compromise you mentioned about getting each other rings and having a barbecue sounds like a positive step towards finding a middle ground and celebrating your relationship in a way that feels comfortable for both of you. Remember that time can change people and their perspectives, so stay open to the possibility of growth and change in the future. Comments. This seems like one of those half-assed compromises where one or both of you are going to grow to resent each other. You want marriage, he doesn't. So, are you settling with a little piece of hardware? Well, whatever works for you. But man, that sounds like a terrible solution. I can't even call it a compromise. You want marriage, he doesn't. So you're compromising but not getting married. Well, okay then. Ninja edit. Also, getting promise rings as a physical reminder of your affair seems like the worst idea ever.